Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and even good evening. Today I have brought the last chapter of Shastri first year. This is about the modest proposal written by Dr. Jonathan Swift. It is a satirical essay. It is a satire against modern concept, against the central government, against the injustice, against the national policy, against the landlords and the traders who exploited the poor. So this essay is a bitter satire to the government and the policy. Alright, and the idea that the essayist has brought is not easy to understand, not easy to get direct meaning for the readers to in a just literal sense. So it has each and every word has the indirect meaning of the essay. A modest proposal is a biting satire to the central government of the contemporary time of Britain and the poverty caused by the lack of policy and the national investment. Ireland had been under the British rule since 1171, and the British suppressed the revolt of the Irish people. By the early 70s, the English controlled the Irish Parliament that had passed the laws, and it limited the rights of Irish, and the British trade policy started to depress the Irish economy. Swift published several works supporting the Irish cause, and the modest proposal was written during the height of the terrible famine in Ireland, and at the same time British were proposing the devastating tax for the Irish citizens. Right? The businessmen and the landlords are the center of attack, since they are the sole cause of exploitation to the poor. Businessmen and the landlords, these two group of people are the main cause of exploitation to the poor. So they are the main central figure of attack, satire of the writers. The large number of mothers with their children are in the crowd in the buses and the streets to beg for their children. This is the situation at that time that was there in Ireland. There were large number of women, especially the mothers, and mothers having 4 or 5 or 6 children. They used to walk around the just like a road, in the street, in the buses, and they used to beg for their children's life. So it was a kind of tragedy at that time. So the writer saw the real situation, what was going on in there during that situation, that famine in Ireland, and he thought that it was the irresponsibility of the central government, and he had a concept in the mind, and he brought this sort of thought and proposed the proposal which was easiest to solve the problem of the time, especially in his words, but it was a satire. The relationship between the husbands and wives is worse. At that time the relationship was worst because of poverty, because the family was poor and the husbands and wives always used to quarrel there. So the only solution of the poverty is based with the proposal of the author, and he thought that there was no proposal, no solution, no alternative there in the nation. The central government did not have any policy, any proposal, any thought, and then writer thought that only one solution of his, this quarrel, bad relationship between husband and the wives, and the poverty of the children, and mothers almost having 6 children around them, after them, in a queue in the bus station and the street for begging for their life, was tragic condition. And the poet thought, and the writer thought, that it would be the better situation to have this proposal and to solve this problem, right? And the proposal advises to sell the children of the poor to the landowners and the respectable persons of the society. This is for meat, for place. So the rich people, the landowners, and the respectable people of the society could eat the flesh of the children. Right? This is his proposal. 1/4 number of the children will be left to breed, but others should be on sale. He calculates there. He says that there are 170,000 exactly the children, they were under the problem, and parents were under the problem. And then what he thought, that he subtracted how many number of children were able to be supported by the poor, and how many number of the children were, and the families were able to sustain themselves. And he brought their 170,000 children were under the poverty. They were not in a position to survive. And he thought that in 70,000 also he subtracted 30,000, and then 50,000, and almost he brings down that 20,000 children. And in 20,000 children, 15,000 children, especially for girls, should be kept for breeding, and 5,000 male should be as their husbands to breed, and other 100,000 children should be sold to the rich landlords, businessmen, and the traders and the exploitators to eat their flesh in the cabin, in the hotel, right? And all those children who would be produced by the 15,000 females and 4,000 males, they would become better income source for the nation, and the family would become happy. And he has brought a kind of just satire that is not possible to imagine directly, but it is about the just like advice to the attack to the exploitators, right? And he says the children are the burden of the parents and the country, because they are the burden. Small children should be sold to the landlords for the meat. That is his point. It means landlords have taken almost all the property, animals, grains, money of the poor. The poor parents are without any money, without any grain, without any food, without anything else, and these poor parents cannot support their children, and only the things that is left for the parents, for the children of the poor, is to eat their flesh, is to take their flesh. Otherwise there would be no any solution of them, right? That is a meaning, that is attack, right? It reduces the number of the children. If it is sold, number of the children can be reduced. Lessens the financial problems of the nation. That is what he thinks. Provides parents benefits, and marriage will be meaningful and useful for the couples, because the parents used to quarrel and the husband and wife used to quarrel. There was no meaning at all for the children, and they were only the beggars. There was no food. They were dying. They were being sold in abroad for fight, right, in the war, especially in Spain during that time. So the couple's relationship was not good enough, and he thought that couple's relationship would become really good enough because of that situation of selling the flesh of the infants to the rich people, right? The writer's attack is the partial principles. Partially it is an attack to the principle, and partially values used for the oppressed class people in the society. He attacks the poor economic condition of the country, weakness of the government, foolishness of the leaders, and the landlords who have created such condition in the country. So this attack is the attack to the economic condition, attack to the government's weakness and foolishness of the leaders who were not doing anything for the poor people, for the helpless people, for the beggars in the country, for the poverty in the country, and the landlords who have created such condition. Landlords were really the responsible people to create this sort of situation for the poor and the children, right? Because the poor's animals, grains, and money, everything was captured by the landlords. The poor were only the object of working machine of work for the landlords, right? Through this proposal, he wants to kill the burden of the children for their parents and nation if they are sold for food. The children are sellable commodities, this is what he says, because they are less valuable than animals in their contemporary condition. The author has pointed out 6 advantages of his proposal. These are advantages, but it is satirical advantages, not exactly positively is bringing the advantage, but these advantages are the advantages, especially in negative sense, right? Firstly, it would greatly lessen the number of papists, right? Those Pope's papists, right? They were criminals would reduce, the number of criminals would be reduced. Secondly, the poor of tenants will have something valuable of their own. Children, their baby of 1 year selling to the rich people, and the landlords would be producing themselves and having money of their own, which by law may be made liable to a distress and help to pay their landlord's rent, their corn and cattle being already seized means captured, and money thing unknown means the money was unknown for the poor. Landlords had already captured their money, already captured their animals, captured their corn, captured their grain, and these poor people had not found even the sight of money, right? So these poor would get better situation. That is the second advantage. Thirdly, the maintenance of a husband. 100,000 children can be computed at less than 10 shillings a piece per annum, and the nation's stock will be increased 50,000 pounds per annum. It means the investment that was almost spent for the life of the children would have been saved for the nation. 50,000 pounds per annum would have been spent, and it would have been saved for the children, for the nation, if his proposal was adopted. That is his point. Besides, it would be the profit of a new dish. There would be new dish, new taste for the rich people, for the gentlemen, for the landlords, and for the traders, and it would be a kind of new taste for the dish, for the new flesh, right? And that would come different sort of ideas, right, for the nation. The gentlemen would find the taste of the dish. Gentlemen would be there. They would find different taste. They had never tasted such sort of flesh of the young child of 1 year, and the money will be circulated among themselves. Money would not go outside the country. That would be circulated within the society. The goods would be entirely the product of their own. Please aid thereof. Product of their own growth, and of is missed there, and the manufacturer of the nation, and the goods would be the manufacturer of the nation. They would produce everything for themselves, and they did not have to go to buy from abroad, and this would be a great situation for the country, for the family, for the poor people to solve the problem themselves, right? Not from the politicians, not from the government, central government, not from businessmen, not from landlords. They would be bringing a kind of solution if they adopted this sort of proposal proposed by the author in practical life. That was the situation, right? Fourthly, the constant breeders. He has calculated there. Constant breeders would be 15,000 females and 5,000 males for their husbands. And besides the gain of 8 shillings sterling per annum, they would get just a profit of 8 shillings by the sale of their children. Will be rid of the charge of maintaining them after the first year. Means after 1 year the child should be sold for the rich, and after 1 year the charge would be saved. For maintaining the children there would be no charge. They would be free from just these maintaining charges, right? So it would be another benefit for the parents. Fifthly, this food would likewise bring great meaning and value to marriage, right? It will eat in all wise nations have either encouraged by rewards or enforced by laws. In wise nations, maybe they will do this sort of encouragement, and forced by the laws, people start doing this, and the penalties also through the law. It will increase the care and tenderness of mothers' rewards to their children. Mothers would be better care by their husbands, and mothers would better care even to the children. They would see an honest evolution among the married women, which of them could bring the fattest child to the market. Fattest child would be the best meat for the businessmen. That is what he thought. Men would become as fond of their wives. They love their wives. During the time of their pregnancy, they would love. They just care because they would fear about the miscarriage of the child. As they are now of their conflicts and fights, now they are in the conflicts. At that time, they were in the conflicts, husband and wives. They were fighting. They were not having good relationship. But when this proposal would be adopted, and this would bring a better care, better love, better condition between the husband and wife, and not offer to beat or kick them. They would not beat their wives. They would not kick their wives, as it is too frequent a practice. But it was very frequent practice of beating and just kicking their wives. But after this proposal would be adopted, and then practically the husbands would love their wives, would care their wives, and they would, because their babies that they produce would bring them money. But this proposal creates fear of miscarriage. And the married couples do have sound relationship, it's good relationship. Fear of miscarriage would be there. By kicking, there would be miscarriage. So this situation would be different for the positive side of the husband and wife. Sixth advantage, sixthly, the food of the infants would likewise bring great customs to taverns and hotels, and consequently have their houses frequently visited by all the fine gentlemen. Food would be best, and then fine gentlemen, rich people would visit their houses to eat that place, who would justly value themselves upon their knowledge in good eating. And a skillful cook who understands how to please his guest and will offer to make it an as expensive as they please, because rich people do have enough money. The guest would visit frequently. They would spend just money when they could get better food, tasty food. They would naturally spend money as much as they wanted. So as expensive as they would please would be the condition for the customers, for the rich people, for the gentlemen to eat that sort of place of the 1 year child, right, baby. Many other advantages might be enumerated, told. For instance, some thousand carcasses, means dead bodies in English, exportation would be possible. It would be exported even in other countries. The writer states that many advantages have been omitted. To make his proposal brief, the author has asked to the central government, landlords, businessmen, and the industrialists to make the suitable plan and policies for the betterment of the poor, farmers, workers, and the cottagers and laborers and beggars. This is the real message. If the government, landlords, businessmen, industrialists do not make better policies, suitable plan for the poor, suitable just plan for the farmers, for the workers, for the cottagers, for the laborers and beggars, and this proposal would be the applicable one. He means indirectly, please apply better proposal, bring better proposal like his proposal to address the situation, condition of the country, of the nation, and then only it would be easy for the solution of the problem, right? The landlords and the traders have exploited the poor too much, and they have nothing more now more than to eat the flesh of their children. This is attack. They have exploited too much. They have done too much injustice. Now if they want to do more injustice, they have to take the place of their children. That is the solution. Otherwise there is no solution. That is what the writer says. The professed with the insincerity of his heart. It is not just in meaninglessness, with sincerity, honesty, and he has at least personal interest in the effort to promote the necessary work. He has no personal interest. It is the just public interest for which he has done. He has no other motive than the public good of the country. His intention is to do public good for the country. Yes, he has no children by which he can propose to get a single penny, because his youngest child is of 9 years old and his wife fast childbearing. That is his point. Only 1 year child can be sold. So he has youngest child also 9 years old. His wife cannot give the birth of another child. So he does not have any personal interest to sell and to gain money on money. Only his interest is to just for the public, for the betterment of the country, right? Yes, he has pleaded the products of goods should be within the nation, and the national commodities must have the equal price for the customers. External goods must not be imported. That is his point, right? The central government must address the basic needs of the poor and the workers. This is his point, right? The proposal of the government must be cheap, modest, and address the need of the children and the workers. That means government must bring a proposal. That proposal must be cheap, modest should be. Should be like in the proposal of the author, and it must address the need of the children and the workers, right? And he has calculated the number of the poor children and the workers and proposed satirically to sell the flesh of the infants, right? His mathematical calculation is humorous and ironical one in the essay. His proposal is the example of how a modest proposal can be made for the advancement of the country and to address the basic needs of the people. It is a proposal not only for English but also for the poverty of the whole world. His advantages of the proposal are the real advantages of the modest proposal made for the development of the nation by the central government. This is how the writer comes to the point that the situation should be solved. It is the responsibility of the government, not of only of other businessmen and just traders. This is how the writer says that the condition is really tragic, miserable, and he calculates the large number of people are in the situation of the tragic condition in Ireland, and the situation is to be solved not by others but by the government, central government, by the landlords, by the businessmen, and by the white citizens of the country itself. For the sake of Sanskrit student, I need to speak a little bit in Nepali. यस निबन्धमा जोनाथन स्विफ्टले वास्तवमा बच्चाहरूलाई मोडेस्ट प्रपोजल भनेको सबैभन्दा सस्तो प्रस्ताव बनायो। त्यति बेला आयरल्यान्डमा फेमिन अनिकाल लागिराखेको बेला, बिजोग भइराखेको बेला, देश नै एउटा नाजुक अवस्थामा भएको बेला एउटी आमाले 6-7 जनासम्म, 5 जना 6 जनासम्म चाहिँ बच्चा बच्चीहरू लिएर गाडीमा ताती लाएर भिखारी बनाएर गाडीका स्टेसनमा भ्रोड हुँदै माग्न हिँडेको पोजिसन देखेपछि राइटरलाई त्यसलाई छोएर उनले के लेखे त भन्दाखेरि होइन, यदि सेन्ट्रल गभर्नमेन्ट केन्द्रीय सरकारले यो समस्या समाधान नगर्ने हो भने म एउटा प्रस्ताव ल्याउँछु, यो सबैका लागि राम्रो छ भनेर उनले एउटा क्याल्कुलेसन गर्छन्। कति 2 लाख बच्चाहरू बिजोग भएका, त्यसमा 1,70,000 को झन् बिजोग भएका, कतिले पाल्न सक्ने, कतिले पाल्न नसक्ने, र अनि वास्तवमै 1 लाख बच्चालाई चाहिँ पाल्नै सक्दैनन् कसैले, तिनीहरूलाई बेचि नै दिनुपर्छ। त्यो बेचेर आएको पैसाले चाहिँ मासुको रूपमा बेच्नुपर्छ। त्यो मासु चाहिँ धनीहरूले खाने, ल्यान्डलर्डहरूले खाने, धनाढ्यहरूले, व्यापारीहरूले खाने, अनि उनीहरूका बच्चा बाबु आमाको त रगत चुसिसके, गाई बस्तु खाइसके, अन्न बाली लगिसके, पैसा ती गरिबहरूले देख्न पाएका छैनन्। वर्करले टिनेन्ट्सहरूले, भाडामा बस्नेहरूले, अनि लेबरर्सहरूले, यी फार्मर्सहरूले पैसै केही देख्नै नपाएपछि के गर्ने त भन्दाखेरि अब उनीहरूले गर्न सक्ने योभन्दा अरू उपाय छैन। बच्चाको मासु खानुभन्दा उपाय छैन। अब बरु बच्चाकै मासु खाए हुन्छ भनेर एकदम आक्रमण गरेर व्यङ्ग्य गरेर लेखिएको। र यसमा उनले 1 लाख बच्चा चाहिँ बेचिहाल्नुपर्छ, त्यसमा 70,000 बच्चा रहन्छन्। 1,70,000 मा 70,000 मा पनि 50,000 जति चाहिँ पाल्न सक्ने होलान्। त्यसमा 20,000 चाहिँ झन् बिजोग हुन्छन्। ती 20,000 मा 15,000लाई चाहिँ सधैँ बच्चा जन्माउने आमाको रूपमा राख्नुपर्छ र 5,000 चाहिँ मेललाई, पुरुषलाई चाहिँ बिउको रूपमा राखेर अनि बच्चा जन्माएर बच्चा 1 वर्षको पारेपछि जन्मिँदाखेरि 1 वर्षमा 28 पाउन्डको हुन्छ त्यो बराबरको बच्चा खान अत्यन्तै योग्य हुन्छ होटलमा लाने धनीले खाने जेन्टलमेनले खाने अनिखेर उनीहरूले अत्यन्तै राम्ररी नयाँ डिस खान पाएपछि जति पनि पैसा तिर्न तयार हुन्छन् र यसो भएपछि श्रीमान श्रीमतीले झगडा गर्दैन बच्चाबच्चीलाई पाल्न सजिलो हुन्छ उनीहरूले फाइदा पाउँछन् 1 वर्ष पछाडि पाल्नै पर्दैन श्रीमानले कहिले श्रीमतीलाई कुट्दैन माया गर्छ प्रेग्नेन्सी चाहिँ ट्विन छ भनेर माया गर्छ पैसा आउँछ भनेर माया गर्छ उनीहरूलाई 8 शिलिङ फाइदा हुन्छ वर्षको 1 वर्ष पछाडि पाल्नै नपर्ने उनीहरूले अर्को फाइदा हुन्छ र राष्ट्रलाई नै फाइदा हुन्छ राष्ट्रको इन्कम 50 पाउन्ड चाहिँ वार्षिक रूपमा बच्चाहरूलाई यस्ता गरिब बच्चाहरूलाई पाल्न हुर्काउने बेगरहरूलाई पाल्नको लागि लगानी गरेको पैसा राज्यलाई बच्छ भनेर यो अनि त्योभन्दा बाहिर राज्यभन्दा बाहिर पनि बेच्न सकिन्छ यो मासुलाई देशभन्दा बाहिर पनि बेचेर थुप्रो आय आर्जन गर्न सकिन्छ आफ्नै उत्पादनबाट आफै सिर्जना गरेर आफै बेचेर आफै बिचमा मनीको के त पैसाको सर्कुलेसन गरेर देशलाई धनी बनाउन सकिन्छ गरिबीको समस्या समाधान गर्न सकिन्छ र गरिबले कहिल्यै नदेखेका पैसा नदेखेका बाबुआमाले ती किसानले ती फार्मर्सले टिनेन्ट्सले लेबरर्सले पैसा पाउँछन् र आफ्नो भाडा तिर्न पाउन सक्छन् उनीहरूका गाई वस्तु अन्न सबै धनीहरूले उहिले खाइसकेका छन् योभन्दा खाने अन्य अत्याचार गर्ने ठाउँै रहेन भनेर यसरी व्यङ्ग्य गरेर लेखिएका हुन् यसरी व्यङ्ग्य गर्दै जाँदा जम्मा 6 वटा फाइदा हुन्छन् भनेर भनेको छ अब त्यो 6 वटा फाइदा पनि कस्तो त भन्दा साँच्चै फाइदा होइन पहिलो त चर्चमा भएका ती पापी मान्छेहरूको सङ्ख्या घट्छ भनेको छ पहिलो फाइदामा दोस्रो फाइदामा के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि टिनेजर्सहरूले जिन्दगीभरि आफै उत्पादन गर्छन् आफै उनीहरूको पीडाबाट ल्यान्ड र भाडा तिर्न सक्छन् गाई वस्तुहरू अघि सिज गरेका छ पैसा कहिले नदेखे पैसा देख्न पाउँछन् दोस्रो फाइदा तेस्रो फाइदा चाहिँ के त भन्दा उनीहरूले बच्चाहरूलाई त्यो जति पैसा आउँछ बेचेर त्यो बच्चाबाट बेचेर आएको पैसा चाहिँ 50,000 पाउन्ड चाहिँ राज्यले लगानी गरेको पैसा नै बच्छ अनि उनीहरूलाई पनि प्रफिट हुन्छ नयाँ डिसहरू हुन्छ नयाँ खानेकुराहरू खान पाउँछन् अनि खाने मान्छेले पनि नयाँ स्वाद हुन्छ त्यो अर्को फाइदा हुन्छ जेन्टलमेनहरूले चाहिँ त्यो नयाँ डिस राम्रो पाइसकेपछि उनीहरूले राम्रो वस्तु खाएपछि जति पनि पैसा तिरेर अनि राज्यभित्रै उत्पादन भएको खान्छन् भनेको छ अर्को चौथोमा कन्स्ट्यान्ट बिडर्स भनेको सधैँ जन्माउने बच्चा जन्माइरहनेहरूले चाहिँ अनि 8 शिलिङ स्टर्लिङ पर एनम चाहिँ वार्षिक रूपमा उनीहरूको बच्चा बेचेर पाउँछन् र 1 वर्ष पछाडि पाल्नुपर्ने पैसाबाट पनि उनीहरू बच्छन् भनेको छ अर्को पाँचौं फाइदामा के भन्छ भन्दा यो खानाले सबैभन्दा ठुलो विवाहमा परिवर्तन ल्याउँछ कानुनी रूपमा उनीहरूलाई बाध्य गराउँछ अनि लले बाध्य गराउँछ या पूजा के अरे सजाय दिन्छन् ती नमान्नेलाई अनि यसले सब आमालाई राम्रो पुरस्कार बच्चाहरूलाई राम्रो हेर्ने अनेस्ट इमानदार हुने बिहेमा राम्रो सम्बन्ध सुधार हुने अनि सबभन्दा मोटा मोटा बच्चाहरू चाहिँ बजारमा पुग्ने अनि अत्यन्तै श्रीमान श्रीमतीहरूले झगडा नगर्ने फाइट नगर्ने अनि किक नगर्ने लात्थाले नहान्ने नकुट्ने जुन प्र्याक्टिस छ त्यो हट्छ बच्चो तुइन्छ भन्ने डर हुन्छ र विवाहमा पुरै सम्बन्धमा श्रीमान श्रीमतीको सम्बन्धमा राम्रो आउँछ भने त्यो भनेको पक्कै यथार्थ फाइदा भनेको छ तर वास्तवमा त्यो इन्डाइरेक्टली भनेको के त भन्दा धनी भएपछि पैसा भएपछि कोही झगडा गर्दैन कोही यस्तो पीडा हुँदैन कसैले कसैलाई कुट्दैनन् राम्रो सम्बन्ध भएर पारिवारिक सम्बन्ध राम्रो हुन्छ भने हो अर्को फाइदा चाहिँ बच्चाहरूको मासुले सबै घरहरू राम्रा राम्रामा भरिन्छन् होटलहरू भरिन्छन् अनि त्यहाँ धनीहरू खाना आउँछन् ती खाना आउनेले ती गेस्टहरूले मिठो भएपछि जतिसुकै पैसा तिरेर पनि खान तयार हुन्छन् र यो गरिबलाई पनि राम्रो हुन्छ त्यो खानेलाई पनि राम्रो हुन्छ भनेको छ अर्को चाहिँ यी फाइदाभन्दा थुप्रैहरू पनि भन्न सकिन्छ तर यसलाई अहिले नगरौँ 8,000 अलिकति त के त 1000 कार्कासेस भनेको लासहरू त बाहिर पनि बेच्न सकिन्छ भनेको छ राइटरले थुप्रै यी एडभान्टेजहरू हटाइदिया छु छोटो बनाउनका लागि त्यसले गर्दा योभन्दा बढी फाइदा नभनौँ यति नै हुन् योभन्दा बढी त अनगिन्ती फाइदाहरू छन् योभन्दा अर्को राम्रो प्रपोजल प्रस्ताव कसैले ल्याउँछ भने म स्वीकार्छु तर योभन्दा कम मूल्यको यसरी नै समस्या समाधान गर्ने खालको ल्याउनुपर्छ अनि मात्रै स्वीकार्छु नभए म स्वीकार्दिनँ भनेको छ त्यो भनेको के त भन्दा कुनै पनि राज्यले गभर्मेन्टले सेन्ट्रल गभर्मेन्टले ट्रेडर्सले ल्यान्डलर्ड्सहरूले चाहिँ के गर्नु पर्यो भन्दा मैले ल्याएको भन्दा राम्रो प्लानिङ ल्याऊ प्रस्ताव ल्याऊ र राज्यलाई राम्रो सुधार्नेतिर लैजाऊ त्यसो गर्यो भने ठिक छ नभए त यही लागू गर न भनेर व्यङ्ग्य गरेको र अथरले कसलाई मागेका छन् सोधेका छन् भन्दा सेन्ट्रल गभर्मेन्टलाई ल्यान्डलर्ड्सलाई बिजनेसम्यानलाई इन्डस्ट्रियलिस्टहरूलाई अलिकति पोलिसी राम्रो बनाऊ प्लान राम्रो बनाऊ र किसान वर्कर्स कटेजर्स भनेको झुप्रामा बस्नेहरू गरिबहरू लेबरर्सहरू र बेगर्सहरूको समस्या समाधान गर्ने खालको चाहिँ परिस्थिति लिएर आऊ भनेर यसरी के त भनेको छ यसमा शोषण गर्ने सिमानाको योभन्दा बढी शोषण नगर अनि भन्छन् र अन्तिममा राइटरले के भन्छन् भने मेरो प्रस्ताव एकदम इमानदारसँग ल्याएको हृदयबाट ल्याएको व्यक्तिगत इच्छाका लागि ल्याएको होइन प्रमोसन आफ्नो के त फाइदाका लागि होइन राष्ट्रको देशको लागि ल्याएको र यो चाहिँ पब्लिक गुडको लागि ल्याएको देशको कन्ट्रीको गुडको लागि ल्याएको र उनीसँग एउटा पनि बच्चो बेच्ने छैन किन भन्दा 1 वर्षको मात्रै बेच्न पाइन्छ भनेको छ उनको बच्चो कान्छो पनि 9 वर्षको भइसकेको छ श्रीमतीले बच्चो पनि पाउँदिन नभए भनेर यसरी आफूले क्लियरली राष्ट्रलाई कसरी बनाउने राष्ट्र कसरी अगाडि बढ्ने भन्ने कुरो सबैलाई समान रूपको मूल्य बनाउने अनि बाहिरबाट वस्तु नै ल्याउने आफै उत्पादन गर्ने अनि पैसा आफै भित्र सर्कुलेसन गर्ने र राज्यले गरिबहरूको वास्तवमा बेसिक निडलाई चाहिँ पूरा गरिदिनु पर्छ र यो प्रस्ताव सस्तो पनि हुनुपर्छ सरकारले ल्याउने प्रस्ताव उले यो भन्दा सस्तो भएन भने यही प्रपोजल लगाउनु पर्यो मोडेस्ट हुनुपर्छ भनेर यिनले लेखेका छन् र यसरी वास्तवमा व्यङ्ग्य गरेर मान्छेको मासु खाओ यो भन्दा अरू उपाय छैन मासु खाएर बच्चाको मासु खाएर समाधान हुन्छ नभए अरू समाधानको बाटो केही छैन भनेर यसरी लेखकले चाहिँ व्यङ्ग्य गरेर राज्यलाई सुधार्ने आर्थिक रूपमा सुधार्ने गरिबहरूका बच्चाहरूलाई सुधार्ने बेगरहरूलाई सुधार्ने इकोनोमीलाई सुधार्ने गभर्मेन्टले पोलिसीबाट सुधार्ने ल्यान्डलर्डबाट सुधार्ने ट्रेडर्सहरूबाट राष्ट्र सुधार्नुपर्छ नत्र यो राज्यमा यस्तो अवस्था हुँदैन यो के त यस्तो नै मेरो नै प्रपोजल लगाए हुन्छ भनेर व्यङ्ग्य गरेका हुन् भनेछ इन सर्ट this essay has really captured the real situation of the famine when it was taking place in Ireland. And at that time, there was a real condition of poverty and the government had taxed a lot, central government, to the Irish people. They were not allowed to do the business and they were poor and the poverty was beyond the control and the situation of the women, children and the poor people, beggars was beyond the control, beyond the imagination. And the writer thought it would be the best proposal for the attack, for the solution of the problem if the government brings that sort of proposal. Otherwise it would be a lesson to the central government and the landlords, businessmen and the traders. That is why he brought this type of proposal, and it is not a real proposal, it is an attack, it is an irony, it is a kind of proposal to bring the solution, to bring the change in the country, to bring the advancement of the country and address the problem of the nation. This is how he has bitterly attacked to the existing system of the country. Thank you. Perhaps you can use these slides and use even in your exam. Thank you very much.